Paul. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'm really tired of seeing your goddamn faces like every night. I mean, we've had to do a lot of shows in the past couple weeks, and this is like all fun and games for a while. But like, I got to stare at your faces like for an hour plus. What is 8th or 9th time in 2 weeks?
I just counted. It's our 8th show in the last 13 days.
I mean, that feels like some sort of like, a
Some
cruel and
people go
unusual
every
punishment.
day. Some people go every day.
They're probably on the radio though. They probably don't have the visual component.
There's a whole other network of people that go every day. That's like their thing.
Well, do they have real jobs too, or do they just get to do that? Because
I don't know.
Because I can tell you, my work life ain't great right now. It's not helping with any of this stuff. But hopefully you guys are finding this to be a little bit of a diversion from your work lives at home. I know it's not for Jeff, and I especially can't wait for him to start talking because he forgot to unmute himself again. So, but I mean, at this point, I'm just happy he's upright, I guess. I don't know. We've got a lot going on here.
I threw to you, Paul, because I thought you were going to have
a rant.
Yeah. And instead, all he did was say he was tired of seeing us, Jeff.
Well, I had a rant just for you. I mean, for you guys. I don't have a rant on this one. I don't. I mean, I don't know. I've got some thoughts, but I gotta warm up a little bit. Jeff, why don't you give us the nuts and bolts here, and then we can start opining, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I heard yesterday, I think as I said on the show, decision was coming soon. I thought it would be more toward like Wednesday or Thursday. I guess press conference technically is on Wednesday. I didn't think Buzz was at the top of the list, to be honest. I had several people who were, well, I'll explain it for those who haven't read my reporting, which is basically there was the administrative crew, which was the president, Daryl Pines, Brian Ullman, the communications director, and Colleen Sorum, who's the interim AD replacing Damon Evans. And then there was a kind of a crew of volunteer high-level boosters, and some people you might even be surprised, I can't say, but surprised that we're doing this. And they were helping out and kind of reaching out to agents and advising and things like that. So they advised that, I don't think they trashed Buzz or anything, but he was not their first choice by any stretch. And they felt pretty confident that their opinions were being weighed heavily. So that in my head, had me pretty much rule him out. Turns out he was the choice of Pines. And also I think Kevin Plank played a big role for the second time in a row. He also played a big role in the Kevin Willard hiring. So, you think maybe you just sit this one out at that point, but after how things ended, and they decided Buzz was a guy. Clearly they were risk averse. I don't think it's not a terrible hire. Obviously the guy, he's won more, at a higher level than Willard or Turgeon did. He's, like I said last night, I think he's got 3 Sweet 16s and Elite 8, tends to win wherever he goes. Texas A&M the past 6 years has not won as much as before. But yeah, by like, I don't know what time it was, but it just started all of a sudden. Everybody's either posting, texting me, DMing, whatever. Like, I think it's Buzz. And I was surprised, obviously, based on what I said a minute ago. And, it's pretty clear now in retrospect, he was their choice from the beginning. And I don't, the others like Tony Skinn and David Cox and Luke Murray was never a real, they reached out to his agent, but he never did an interview or anything like that. It was obvious that they wanted Buzz from the very beginning. They wanted to go with a proven winner. They didn't want to take a chance on somebody who's, never been a head coach or never, is several levels below Maryland as a head coach. And that's that.
So I have some thoughts. I talked, was it last night? I don't know. We talked a little bit about this search and kind of the opportunity that it brought to Maryland because they didn't have an AD who might be interested in what I kind of coined as a resume hire, like going out and getting a established P4 coach to be able to say, "Ha, look what I did! I got a coach steal. So I'm put on my resume. It's gonna be great." And they get the hell out of town before anything can go wrong. And they just did the exact same thing anyway. I don't think it's all bad. But I feel like it's a missed opportunity. I feel like they just decided to hit the easy button. You know, if you plugged this scenario into some sort of AI machine, I imagine it would have spit out and said, well, of course you hire Buzz Williams, right? The guy's, he's won before. He's won at multiple places, and the positives are there. Like, yes, he's had more success at those schools than anybody has had at Maryland since Gary Williams. Absolutely. He had a team in the top 10, in the top most, basically the top 20 most of last season. He's been able to make some runs in conference tournaments. He's been able to, get himself into the tournament, keep his teams relevant almost no matter what. Like he's not going to come here and put up, under 500 seasons back to back, that type of thing. It's not going to happen. And I think part of that is why he was hired in the first place, because if the decision makers ended up thinking, you know what, this thing could really crater. If we get this wrong, we could lose the fans forever. And we can't do that. So, okay, cool. We'll go get the established coach we know is going to keep us relevant. And maybe he levels up. Those are the positives to me. That makes sense from a certain perspective. If you want to look at the negatives, his offense is basically 20 years old. It does not shoot. Last year, I think his Texas A&M team shot 30% from three. We've seen how that works here. But he recruits basically like tough athletes, and he cares about your basketball skills. That's like the second or third option. He wants guys who are tough. They're number one in offensive rebounding in college basketball the last 2 years in a row. That's good. But you know what also is the reason you might be really good at offensive rebounding? Because you miss a ton of shots. So his defenses are usually pretty good, but not elite. So you're not getting a Rick Pitino here either. But he finds ways to win. The analytics guys don't like him at all because his analytics aren't very good. But he gets those intangible type tough guys that have plagued Maryland, frankly, in the past quite a bit. Thinking that West Virginia team that beat that Mello team, those kind of teams that used to rule the Big Ten, actually. In fact, he went and beat Purdue last year and Ohio State, I think, as well. Those teams that were kind of the old school Big Ten, where it's like a first team to 60 game. That's the guy you want on your side. So I don't love it. I think Maryland had a chance to go and try and find like an all-timer, like a lifer, but you swing and miss sometimes when you do that. So I understand why people don't want to do that if you're in a decision-making position and you're going to be judged on that hire. But man, it feels like a missed opportunity to get kind of a young up-and-comer and see if they got the stuff.
Maryland doesn't do the young up-and-comer thing. Gary retired, about how many years ago?
15 years ago.
15 years ago. They've had 3 hires. They've all been that same kind of profile, high floor, decent ceiling, but not. They never take a shot on the young rising guy. I think you need a bold AD to do something like that, and they haven't had one.
Yeah, and how's that worked out?
I want to give 2 things. One, he schedules out of conference really well. That's a positive you didn't mention. His out of conference schedule last year.
Valid.
I was just looking at it. So here's the whole out of conference schedule: UCF. Okay, East Texas A&M, Lamar, Ohio State, Southern, Oregon, Creighton, Rutgers, Wake Forest, Texas Tech, Purdue, Houston Christian, Abilene Christian. Hey, man, I'll take that every year. That's a positive.
He's got a little. He's got a little bit of that. Not to say he's as good, but he's got a little bit of that Tom Izzo style to him, right, with the playing style and scheduling.
Here's another thing. Talking about his offense, the pace is, as you said, dreadfully slow. 20 years old, but here's the actual Ken Pom numbers on him. Starting back at Marquette, his offensive team's rating 9, 21, 22, 40, 24, and then his last year at Marquette, which wasn't great, was 97. His first year at Virginia Tech was a really bad year, came in 11 and 22 overall. They were 128, jumped to 81, then 21, 28, 11. Very good again. First years at Texas A&M, not good, 203, 175. Then at 66, 34, 26, 40. those aren't bad numbers offensively. Those are pretty good.
They're not bad, but they're not great. And honestly,
some of them are great. He has a couple of top 10s in there.
Yeah, how old are those? I mean, here's the thing: if Maryland was hiring Buzz out of Virginia Tech in 2019, I'd be pretty jazzed for this thing, because his team shot 3-pointers. They moved the ball well. They were fun. You remember those teams? Those were fun teams. His A&M teams were not fun, man. They were bully ball, awful games to watch. They were all the teams in the Big Ten that we used to crush back in the old Big Ten days when we first joined, and everything was slow and awful and a million fouls. I think they shot 69% from the line last year, by the way, too, which is an abomination. So like the style's not great. I thought his Virginia Tech teams, his Marquette teams were great, but his A&M stay has been concerning to me. Now, part of that probably has to be with COVID mixed in there, with the SEC leveling up from kind of an okay conference with Kentucky doing whatever they want and everybody else to like a legit elite conference. I mean, his team last year was tough and good, but then they lost to Michigan. Sound familiar? So I don't know. I mean, it's not all bad. I think when it was first announced, when it was first announced, I felt way worse about it than I do after reading into it a little bit. But it will never not feel like a missed opportunity to me, unless he goes and takes us to a Final Four in a couple years, and I can shut up and everybody can make fun of me. But man, just you didn't have a lot to lose. I feel like by taking a swing at a young up and comer this time, and Maryland just always just the most small C conservative athletic department in the world. Man, they never take chances. They're never risk averse. They just want to try and keep the trains on time. And, it's just hard for me to get excited about that. I'm sorry.
It's not exciting for sure. It wasn't my first choice either. I don't have
the slogan.
Yeah, I don't have the visceral like animus or like hatred towards him and this decision that other people do. It wasn't my first choice, but I also, as you know, I am always the one with the positive, trying to find the positive anyway. I want to see how it plays out.
Maryland basketball. It's not exciting for sure.
Well, he's not. Last year was exciting, and people didn't think Willard was going to be. And
that's a good point, Larry. That's a good point. Now, sorry.
Finally got his players in place. It was very good. It was a great year this year, and we wanted a little bit more, but it was a good year. So, go ahead.
Well, here's my plan. I think you need to take the analytics guy that convinced Kevin Willard the 3-pointers were awesome and good, and you need to lock him in a room with Buzz for like a week. And then hopefully Buzz will come out of that and he'll be like, hey, guess what? I learned the 3-pointers are awesome and good. We're going to find some guys that shoot 40% from 3. I think that'd be awesome. Because if you can take Buzz ball with, the toughness and like the athleticism that he always has in his teams and have an offense that actually resembles something that'll work in 2025, you're cooking with gas. So this might be his last shot at a real winner. I mean, Texas A&M is going to be a tough place to win a lot of basketball games, especially in the SEC the way it looks now. Whereas the Big Ten is still a good conference, but as we've seen, there's not a lot of like elite programs, elite teams popping up every year in there. So maybe he's the type of guy who can come in here and be like, you know what? I'm going to do I'm going to try and combine the things I've done well over my 20 years of coaching and put them all together, smash them together. Maryland's going to give me the resources to do it, and we're going to go and we're going to try and win this thing.
Well, the other good thing is, for sure that they sat with him and told him, look, this last guy just shit all over us, alienated everybody. People are angry. They feel like this guy didn't care about Maryland. He was just some guy who showed up, was all about himself. So you need to dedicate yourself to making it a family, bringing back old players, engaging with the fans. Don't just be a mercenary, because they are very wounded right now. So he should be motivated to do a lot of the right things in that way, hire local guys, get local players. So at least, I noticed in the press release, it was very, I'm respectful of the tradition that Maryland has and all these things. Like you could sense those vibes from him. So there's at least that sort of motivation to, get the family vibe back and treat the fans well and just not be kind of a jerk like the other guy was.
Well, and that's the other thing. This is a guy who leaves every job he's ever had after like 5 or 6 years. He gets tired of the place he's at, and the people there get tired of him. That's fine. I mean, if this is just like a 5-6 year contract and we're going to run it out and see what happens, I'm fine with that. But it's also just one of those little things that makes you go, And I mean, I don't know. I'm so worried. I'm horrified about what's in his contract right now, because Maryland just seems to give away the entire house whenever they hire somebody. So like, if things go wrong in a couple of years, you're stuck with them forever, which is also the
Damon,
problem.
Damon's gone now, so maybe,
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hope that was the case, but like, you worry that like, if you hire these high major guys who are already on big contracts, you got to give them a bigger contract. You got to give them a bigger buyout. So if it goes wrong, you're screwed. Like, they've got you over the rail, and you can't do anything about it. Where at least a young guy, if they, you try a young guy, they come in, you pay him nothing, you redirect that money to NIL. If it doesn't work in 3 years, you fire him for nothing, you try again. You get a guy from a high major school who comes in here on $5-6 million a year, you're never going to be able to fire him. So it's scary. It in some ways it's the safe hire and it's the risky hire at the same times, if that makes any sense. I don't know. There's so many contradictions to this. And it feels like it's one of those things where the fans, if you believe you look at one set of data and think, you know what, all right, this is going to work. You can look at another set of data and be like, oh man, this is scary. And both of those opinions could be perfectly correct. And
I have a feeling the contract won't be crazy. I don't think it'll be. I mean, you never know with Maryland, but I think it won't be crazy because he seemed to really want to get out of Texas A&M. Depending on who you talk to there, they might have been pushing him out so they could go after Chris Beard. Is something that's the theory out there. So they might have had some leverage with him really wanting out. They gained $1 million, I think, in the buyout trade, right? $2 million for Willard and $1 million for Buzz. So.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Gain $1 million, put it towards players. Here's what I think is going to happen. He's going to start hiring some assistants, and there's going to be a big name or something, and everybody's going to be like, all right, maybe this is what happened with Willard too. Remember, he hired the local guys, and everybody's like, yeah, we're going to get some local recruits.
Oh, he's going to win the press conference. I guarantee you that too.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow.
Then they've got money. We know they've got money. They're going to start getting kids from the portal like tomorrow. And there's going to be a whole bunch of them coming in, and everybody's going to start putting lineups together and saying, hey, this is a team that could be in the top half of the Big Ten, be a tournament. I think that's coming in the next week.
That's how it goes with every coach. That's the cycle with every
phase.
That happened with Randy Edsall. That's all I have to say. So if it happens, it happens with every coach.
Many players.
People were disappointed, but within a few days, people were talking themselves
25
into it.
transfers at a time when transfers didn't really leave that much.
Yeah, Edsall might be a stretch, but I do agree with Jeff for the most
talking
part.
themselves into it afterwards. With Turgeon, they were disappointed, and then it was like, ooh, we're getting Jake Lehman or whoever it might have been at that time.
Yeah.
And
my style is winning.
Into it. Yeah, my style is winning. So the honeymoon period is almost an automatic, but it needs to be like a really quick honeymoon period because that portal's going. I guarantee you, though, he's probably got some recruits in his back pocket. There's no way he's coming in here without some things already lined up. It'd be interesting to see if he goes after this kid, Bryce Lindsey, who's from the area, played for him at Texas A&M, transferred to James Madison, and had a really good year this year. I haven't had a chance to dig in yet to see if he left there, how their relationship is, but that's one that could be an interesting addition.
Well, if you look at the portal, there's a top 10 team out there if you want to do it. If you got the money and you want to do it, you can go buy yourself a top 10 team right now.
Well, they have a lot of money. They raised a lot of money from boosters to try to keep Willard.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I heard today that a few people are asking for their money back. But they really are. But hopefully for their sake, not too many of them. But they do have a nice little pile of cash. I don't know exactly how much, but that'll help them right now because you can still do these NIL deals for a couple more months. And that's why the market's going crazy. That's why there's guys who aren't even like all Americans who are getting like $2.5 million right now. Jacoby Gillespie will probably get $2 million or somewhere in that neighborhood wherever he goes.
Oof, man.
But apparently they have a lot of money, to spend, so that helps.
Yeah, I mean, this will be fun. You have an entire roster to rebuild. I mean, if they keep more than 2 or 3 guys from last season, it'll be probably a surprise. So, I mean, the next month's going to be insane. I mean, I'm going to have to see your stupid faces even more because there's going to be so many commitments and all this stuff. And yes, Jeff's absolutely right. We're all going to talk ourselves into this being awesome, and it might be awesome. Might be. I could be I could be completely wrong about everything. That's never happened before, right? I know. So, again, you might as well just be excited. If you're that type of person, just be excited because it's way more fun than being miserable and, shitty about it. So I'm not even real that miserable and shitty about it. I just kind of wish they'd have gone a different direction. I'd have gone a different direction.
Here's a good question from Hunter Riggs, Jeff. Jeffrey going to recommit?
It's possible. We got a short quote from him today. Texas A&M was one of his top schools, so he knows Buzz. He likes him. It's kind of crazy because what are the odds of that? Obviously, he was only considering a few schools, so I had pretty much assumed he was going to Villanova, but now I think there's probably a chance. We got to do it.
There we go. Go Buzz. Let's go Buzz. Hey, Derek Queen posted a positive comment on Buzz as well, and watch the press conference of the Texas A&M kid just gushing over Buzz. That's got to make you feel at least a little good, right? The players
seem to like him. They seem to like him.
Yeah.
It's funny. My cousin is a professor at Virginia Tech, and he was there. And I asked him about him. He said he really liked him. He said he has almost a cultish following. Like he gets people to really buy in. He's got that charismatic, but he's a different kind of guy. There's literally nobody out of I don't know how many people I've spoken with who did not say he's different or he's a kind of unusual. He's quirky. Like literally everybody says that. So I'm looking forward to meeting him, seeing what it's all. I mean, I've noticed from afar all these years that he seemed a little quirky, but everybody, and don't say it in a bad way. They're not like he's a jerk or anything, but everybody says like he's a different dude. So I'm just waiting to see well, I'm gonna reach out to shake his hand. He's gonna like sneeze on it, or like what's his, what's so weird or unusual about him? Obviously, he's a very religious guy. We know that, so that's probably some of it, but to wait and see.
Wait a second. Now Hunter said another comment here. I thought the exact opposite was true. He's saying Texas A&M fans are upset about him leaving. I thought many of them were happy that he was leaving. Is that?
Well, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy because if you look on their kind of premium 24/7 sports board, they were not super sad to see him go. I think part of that is because they think they can steal Beard, and Beard is obviously like one of the top guys in the sport right now. Yeah. But if you look at like the Reddit thread or, other more casual fans, they're pretty upset about him leaving. And that's
okay.
I think that's kind of what you'll see here. I think, whereas on the Maryland.247sports.com message boards, you'll see not a ton of enthusiasm about Buzz coming in, the people who are really into this type of thing and really dig into the analytics and those kind of things because they're psychotic. And I'd say that as a compliment. And kind of the casual fan will probably look and be like, hey, this guy's been to Elite Eight. He was in the top 10 last year. This is great. Why would we not want this guy?
There's a psychological term called group polarization, and the message board is like the case study for that.
Oh, absolutely.
And also the message board is a pretty small percentage of the overall fan base when you think about it. So you take what that sort of swirling thing that happens on the message board, everybody works each other up and they all start polarizing as a group. And that's kind of what happened. So
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Completely fair. There's some groupthink going on here.
Yeah.
I would say this.
Hold on.
I would say this. Yeah.
There's groupthink, but also these are people who are they're diving deeper into the analytics and everything else as compared to Joe Fan, who's like, let's go get Steve Blake.
Yeah, I would say this. If you look at the coaching search, what was going on in the message board, say 3 years ago before the Willard hire, you know the names that were out there? It was Todd Golden. It was Nico Medved. It was, guys of that nature who are now coaches that we murder people for the most part. So I wouldn't totally dismiss,
No.
the nerdery and what comes across as groupthink, because these people they dig deep and sometimes,
of course,
it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Of course, there could also be misses in there as well.
Yeah.
You're citing the two most successful of the list from 3 years ago, but
Mark Pope was on that list too. I mean, I need to find that list. I need to find
the
that
nerds
list.
now. That was a perfect example why nerds rule the world right there. I think Medved and Golden were probably their top two choices, right? And those guys.
And I was pushing Pope pretty hard, and I think the nerds let me in the door for a minute.
I'm sure they were wrong on somebody who we're forgetting, but they
sure.
I agree. That would have been my first choice too, to do something like that. I'm just saying I don't have the reaction that the other people have, this like crazy negative thing. I've seen a lot of people on the message board. I was working all day, but I quickly read through as much as I could the last hour or so. And a lot of people talking about how they're giving up tickets and all this stuff. And I'm just saying, come on, man. It reminds me of like a game thread. You're emotional in the middle of the game thread when the outcome's not happening the way you want it to happen, and you blurt and you vent. And that's cool. No one's going to hold it against you. But they start winning, they'll come back. They'll come back. They start winning, it'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't usually believe the whole, like, I'm giving up my tickets after 45 years of walking in the snow both ways. Like, whatever, screw you. I mean, fine, give up your tickets. I don't care. Like, that's just dumb. Like, if you care about Maryland basketball, you'll be upset. If you're upset about this hire, you'll be upset for like a day. And then, like you said, you'll watch the press conference from be like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then he'll bring back Rodney Rice in a couple days, and you'll be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we got something here. And it is what it is. But I think there is something to this analytics world where people really do get a pretty good predictive idea as to how these guys are going to translate to new jobs. And Buzz doesn't fit very well in that category. That doesn't mean he can't win a lot here, but it's just he doesn't fit into that category. And that category has been pretty solid follow recently. That's all I would say. Yeah, and the last thing I would say just about the difference between the nerds and kind of like the message boardy, really high engagement fans. I'm embarrassed by how many people that I know texted me something along the lines of like, hey, why don't we just let Steve Blake coach? I mean, these are people who I love dearly, who care about this stuff and are smart, like successful people. And I'm like, what in the hell are you even talking about? Like, Steve Blake sat at the end of an NBA bench for like 2 years, like 5 years ago, and you're going to give him the keys to the program?
And he's going to be the next.
I mean, I love Steve Blake.
Come back and horribly flop.
Right. Do you want to hate Steve Blake in 3 years? I don't.
I'd love him as an assistant. I'll take that.
Sure.
And I saw
or a GM.
And somebody mentioned Greivis Vasquez as well. Could you imagine him hiring Greivis and Steve Blake as assistant coaches? Immediate switch from the fan base will be yes. They'll be.
You can't hire two of those guys. Though you can only hire one.
Well, there's 5 now, right?
Yeah, but only 3 of them are really assistants in terms of recruiting off campus and everything like that. So
okay, well, one of them is that, and one of them is the administrative.
If they're willing to take that, like these guys have egos. There's a reason Steve Blake thought he could jump off the couch and take the head coaching job. Greivis is interested, though, for sure. I can state that as a fact. He's
either one or both, but either one, you're immediately back in the good graces of the fandom. Those are two of the most popular players in the history of the program.
Right, and that's the thing. When we get stuck sometimes talking about the crazies, and I say that as a compliment to our fans, the people who are on Jeff's board and all that stuff. These people who pay money and really dig into this stuff on a level that like really almost nobody else does. Like they're just living on a completely different planet in terms of this job and how everything works. compared to the way that we do. It's
Don't
just
you wish you could go back to that just casual? You just show up at the games. Ooh, this team looks pretty good this year. I wonder that guy looks good. I wonder who he is. Like that.
Ignorance is
like
bliss, brother.
It seems like such a unimaginable way to do it, but good for those people, right? They're just living living the ignorance is bliss dream.
I'm jealous, frankly. I mean, it's a good gig if you got it. I mean,
they don't have the addiction.
Yeah,
it's just fun. But I just got a text saying Buzz looks like Gene Hackman. So there's your breaking news for the night. They just texted me that out of the blue.
Like, come on.
Well, Gene Hackman just died, so I'm not sure that's the greatest omen if we're going for that. So,
Justin, okay, how about
there's your scoop?
We kind of touched on the possibility of Vasquez or Blake as maybe the assistant. Do you have any kind of idea who will be the assistants? How he's going to build his staff?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I know he's got a guy, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name without having it in front of me, but who's been one of his ace recruiters out there. And then obviously anybody who comes into the DMV and takes this job, you have to have local representation. So, I'd be interested to see if he makes a run at Kevin Norris. I think he's supposed to go with Willard to Villanova, but that would be a good hire. Otherwise there's not, 5-10 years ago, there was always some hot shot assistants from the area at Syracuse or this school or that school. And right now there's kind of a drought for that. So there's not that one guy. I mean, Kenny Johnson's interesting. He's at Georgetown now. He was the guy for a while, rising star, and then got caught up in that whole scandal at Louisville, had to start over again, went to Rhode Island with Archie Miller. He's at Georgetown. He's a Maryland grad, has always wanted to get back, has very strong team takeover connections. So, even though that, he's climbed his way back from that mess, and that's a guy who I would definitely consider if I were Buzz Williams.
Well, here's the interesting thing too. So now we're going to have to rediscover what Maryland's coach feels about the transfer portal and high school recruiting. Is this going to be a situation where he's similar to Willard, where he feels like, what, I don't need high school guys. I'm going to get one, maybe two a year, and really just dig out of the portal and try and keep those guys around? Or is he going to be someone that's going to dig more into high school, try and get, 2, 3, maybe 4 of those guys a year when needed, and then kind of sprinkle some portal guys on top? We just don't know. I mean, I think that's going to be a big question in terms of how he wants to run the program. And I think it would really affect the type of assistants he would go after. I mean, because you don't necessarily need to have like a big takeover guy if you're not really going to focus on local, high school recruiting, for example, right? You might not need a St. Morris if you want to have inroads in Baltimore. I mean, you should. I still think it's a good idea. And I think Norris is a good coach to begin with. But I think his priorities on that stuff, and I hope somebody asks him about this tomorrow, basically what his feeling is in terms of, is he going to be a guy that's going to refocus on high school recruiting, or somebody that's really just going to dig out of the portal? I mean, at this point, you have to dig out of the portal to just build a roster for next year.
All portal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's going to be nobody left on the team, so you got to do that. But I mean, looking out, 2, 3, 4 years from now, what's your goal in terms of how you want to stack and build a roster and keep those guys around? Because that's the whole thing now.
Yeah, you mentioned Willard in the portal. Sorry, Larry. You mentioned Willard in the portal. All year long he talked about, I'm just focusing on the portal now. All these high school, there are a bunch of really good local 5-star type high school guys. He didn't go after any of them. If he starts recruiting high schoolers again at Villanova, you're going to know that he might have had this plan for a long time. I've wondered, not to dwell on the Willard thing, but I've kind of looked back at it and pieced some things together. And it is interesting how he didn't want any high school players this year. The other years, he went after some high school guys, even the really good ones in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So that
is going to be an interesting thing to look at.
And then obviously, I think I mentioned last night, if he's going after the same guys who are getting Villanova offers, when he was in the tournament, when they were having these, Maryland staff was having these portal meetings, but no Maryland offers were coming out of it. That'll be interesting too. Obviously, it doesn't matter either way, but it
does matter. And like I mentioned last night, your counterpart for the Villanova site on 24/7 was reporting that he was recruiting players in the portal for
He flat
Villanova
out said that.
multiple times. He
Hmm.
said, "I've just confirmed there are 2 players who he's talking to now."
I will say, Larry,
One,
I don't think that was a reporter. I think he's one
it
of those
was
like
it's the Joker,
Indians.
the guy who runs that site. The Jets' counterpart is the one reporting it on the Villanova site.
Does
I
he have an
read it.
actual name, or is he just a
I don't
screen
know what
name?
his name is, but he's the guy. He's the reporter. The main reporter on the Villanova sites reported that Willard. He said, "I can confirm he's talked to at least 1 player," and then later on he said, "I confirm there's at least 2 now."
Yeah, he should
Okay,
probably delete that. That's what I would
he
do
should
if I were
delete
him.
that. He should delete that. He should, but
I think that guy also said we were going to hire Tony Skinn or somebody, or like Dwayne
he was
Simpkins. So I'm
probably
not
tapped
sure
into
he's.
what's happening at
Yeah.
Villanova. When he started talking about Maryland, I was like, "No, what do you don't
Yeah.
have the same connection. You probably have the connection to Villanova, and he's probably a great guy. I'm not busting on the guy. I don't know the guy. He's probably great. He could be a great reporter. I think it's a mistake to report what he did, but he did report it.
Hmm.
He did post it on the message board. I read it multiple times. A question from Michael Wheatley: will any Texas A&M players come along to Maryland with buzz? And really, there's one kind of candidate, right? Pharrell Payne is his name. The guy used to play at Minnesota. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a physical specimen, like 6'9", just jacked up, super athletic. You would take him all day. I mean, it's too early to say if he'll come. We'll be digging into it, but that would definitely be a guy you'll take if you can get him, and be a really high. I think he actually had a really good game against Maryland a couple years ago at Minnesota, if I recall correct, as a freshman. But yeah, that would be good. Otherwise, the roster, that's partially apparently why he wanted to get out of there, is the roster was almost all gone.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing on that roster.
Another question from Cole Eilish, sorry, is Malachi Palmer staying?
Yeah, I spoke with someone really close to him today. I think he will stay. I don't even think he'll jump in the portal. He loves it at Maryland. He wants to be there. I would, unless he clashes with Buzz, or Buzz says you're not my kind of player or something like that. Yeah, he'll be back.
Hey, we got one guy.
Hey, what about Chance and Jahari? I haven't seen their names, and they're both injured this year. We're technically, I think, supposed to come back next year, right? But
yeah, I think Chance Stevens is, probably just a little too small to be an impact guy at this level, and that injury he had might have taken away from his quickness a little defensively, some issues. Jahari Long can definitely play at this level, at least as a reserve. I think he would have been better, arguably, than any of their backup guards this year. I think he would probably, if healthy, better than DHS and Jay Young. So, yeah, I mean, that's a valuable piece if you can get him back.
Our boy Antoine Cuff says Jahari entered. I must have missed that. And Cole Ellis says Long is gone. I don't know if Long entered the portal also, according to Jeffrey Jackal.
Yeah, he can still come back. They're having a meeting tomorrow. I was told at 8 a.m. tomorrow, team meeting, including all guys who are going in the portal. Obviously, he can't compel them to come to the meeting if they're dead set on leaving, but I'm sure some of them will. Some of the guys who are in the portal.
Why wouldn't you go? I mean,
if you don't think
check it out, if you don't want to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Rodney Rice, for example, I don't think he's real high on Buzz. There's still an outside chance he could come back, but he's getting inquiries now from Kentucky, Kansas, obviously Villanova, Tennessee. So he's going to have some really high level options, and I don't think he loves the playing style. But I think he'll at least give him a chance. I know for a fact he'll give him a chance, but I'm not counting on him coming back.
Yeah, so I think the big news for tomorrow will be who actually attends that meeting, because that'll be kind of your baseline as to anybody who might be willing to come back.
There's got to be other big news tomorrow, like starting with coaching announcements and transfer portal guys. Kind of, because doesn't the portal ends in how many days?
No, it's the end of April, I think.
Still got a while. Yeah, still got a while. But
okay.
But it is, I believe, the end of when you can sign a memorandum of understanding for the NIL is like April 7th.
Yeah.
So I think anybody who you're going to pay NIL to now, I don't know how. A few people have told me about it. With the way things have been lately, I haven't had time to dig into it, but they're going to have to get moving quick.
So my understanding is, I think the final hearing on the House settlement is on April 7th. And assuming that goes to plan, the that would be basically the hard deadline. So once that happens, you're kind of stuck within the terms of the settlement, which is the 20.5 million per school divided up however you choose to. And then any deals over $600 per person would have to go through the clearinghouse. So what schools are trying to do right now is pump as much money out before the 7th, which is what, next Monday, as humanly possible, because that money will not count under those restrictions. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So you got 6 days basically to at least get your high profile guys in the door. Once you get the high profile guy, it sure is.
Free agent. Holy hell, the money's going to be flowing in the next week.
Yeah, and it's going to be big time inflation too. I mean,
yeah, the kid Terps Reed, the big man from I think Michigan, not Michigan. Did he transfer somewhere from? I don't even remember, but solid big man, whatever, not a star. $2.2 million. Like the money is just everybody. They're just emptying out their collectives bank accounts right now.
Yeah.
One point of clarification: the House settlement, $20.5 million. The $600 stipulation is not part of the House settlement. That's a rule being implemented by the schools and the conferences themselves.
But I thought that was supposed to go into effect when the House settlement went into effect.
Maybe go into effect with it, but it's not part of the House settlement.
Yeah.
That could get overthrown very quickly, and I think a lot of people predict that it will actually. That the $600 thing will get overthrown as soon as someone tries to try it in court.
Right, but that'll be a process, and I think the basic idea is all these teams want to get ahead of that 7th deadline and get as much money out the door beforehand, so you just don't even have to worry about it.
And they have, like I said, I think they got, I don't know what the total is, but they got a bunch of money to spend that they raised, with the exception of the people who are demanding it back, which is hilarious. But so there'll be some fireworks coming up for sure. I'm sure he's got some guys in his back pocket.
It's got to. It's going to be fun to watch it. I bet you there's going to be a team put together where everybody's going to say, "Hey, that's a tournament team." I bet you that happens, and everybody starts jumping back on and starts to trying to have hope again, and then we'll see what happens next year. But
that's the baseline, right? I mean, any time, if you're a coach at the University of Maryland, you're expected to make the NCAA tournament. Like that's
next year,
the bottom line.
Considering the condition he's walking in right now, if they make the tournament next year, that is a huge success for Buzz Williams right out of the gate, considering this situation where he's got nothing.
He usually makes it. I think I saw earlier he's made it in like 11 out of 17 years, something like that.
But
and
if you look at the pattern,
look
at the pattern, his first year at the new places aren't great. It takes him a year or two to get his guys in, and then it's a 4 to 5 year stretch where he's in.
That was pre-portal, though.
Guy.
That's true. It was pre-portal. You were talking about Terrace Reed, and Dan from Queen says Reed went to UConn.
Yeah, Terrace Reed. He averaged 9 points and 7 boards a game, and he's getting $2.2 million. He's a good player. I mean, if you watched any of UConn this year, like he's a very solid, tough player. But I mean, that's wild. That's wild.
Some crazy kid. I don't remember who UCLA got. I don't remember the name because I just haven't had time to follow anything else outside of Maryland. But I was also told they got somebody who's
Donovan Dent.
Yeah, Donovan Dent. There you go. He got $3 million apparently, according to an agent. According to the guy, I believe so. It's like because you got to spend it
based on those rates. I was talking about how there's a top 10 team in the portal. 15 million, and you got your top 10 team.
Can you imagine what Derek Queen would get if he went in the portal right now? He might get $5 million.
Yeah, he would. He would
or more.
Easily.
I mean,
easily.
It's wild, man, and I wonder. These prices are going to make it really hard for Buzz to come in and build a monster right away. I mean, I almost wonder if you just kind of try and build a roster full of guys that you think you can keep around for a couple years and just eat next year a little bit. But I don't know if Maryland's administration is going to be willing to put up with that, given they put them, they kind of laid themselves on the line for this hire. I don't know if they're
Yeah.
willing to stick around and be like, let's it's a project. Let's what was the 76ers line? The
Trust the process.
Trust the process. I don't know if
Yep.
anybody's willing to trust the process in the portal
Hell no,
realm.
they're not. Not after everything that just went down.
Yep. So Buzz has some work ahead of him, man. I mean, and honestly, so would Willard if he came back. I mean, it was going to be a tough rebuild. At least you would have thought you're probably keeping Rice, but I'm not sure he would have cut Gillespie at this point. I mean, it looks like Gillespie's just going to go and get some money somewhere.
Yeah, those rumors have been swirling for months about him. I think he was going no matter what, most likely to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Another question.
I respect it.
Another question for Jeff. We kind of already covered this. What's the outlook for Buzz with local recruiting in the DMV in Baltimore? He needs to get some local guys, is basically.
Got to get one or two local assistants. That was the biggest thing. Whenever I talked to any local coaches and other people, around the area, they were like, Buzz Williams in the DMV, like, who's he going to get? He has no ties, so it's impossible to say until we see who he hires. Obviously, money matters now, so you can do it easier than in the past, but relationships still matter. When people tweet at me 100 times a day, like, oh, it's just money, whoever gives the most. I mean, yeah, money matters, but it's not everything. Derek Queen could have got $300,000 or $400,000 more at Indiana. So, he's going to have to find a way to get some local guys on the staff. I don't think Ricky Harris is going to stick around. He's the player personnel director who quietly had a big part in Queen and Jacoby Gillespie's recruitment. You still have the Under Armour connections, and Jimmy Patso's helping there. So you're going to be able to get some guys through that, but he needs to find somebody good, a good local recruiter.
I saw a lot of people kind of really negative posts about Under Armour and Plank as well, which I guess if you don't like Buzz, you're blaming Plank for that, I guess. But where would Maryland be without Under Armour? Everything Maryland builds on campus, every upgrade is largely funded by them. A lot of their NIL is funded by them. Yeah. I don't get the hatred. I mean, maybe you don't like this one decision, or I guess you didn't like Willard either, I guess. But where would they be without him?
Well, also for years, and it's less important now, but for years, the sneaker affiliation on the AAU circuit was huge. And Nike had so much power. Adidas had some, and Under Armour, had very little. There weren't as many players there. So I think that's some of it. And who knows, if they were Nike affiliated all this time, maybe they would have gotten even more. So the Under Armour part, that might be a legit criticism. The Plank part is different because he personally has given, I don't even know. I mean, I think he gave $25 million for the football facility.
At least.
Sold last year. He quietly gave $1 million for NIL for basketball. So I think you kind of have to separate the two, Plank and Under Armour.
Yeah. Well, if you do some math on the player salaries, if someone costs $1 million and you sell in jerseys, how much are they? $50? How much are jerseys?
$60-$70 probably.
Yeah. So what is that? 20,000? Am I doing that right? 20,000 jerseys per million. Am I doing that math right in my head?
What they need, Under Armour needs to, for Maryland's sake, Under Armour needs to start doing some NIL deals. Aside from Kevin Plank personally donating money.
Yeah.
Get Derek Queen, make him, I don't know if you can do a signature shoe for a college guy unless they're Cooper Flag, but you could do a lot of marketing stuff and help bring in some star players. So that, I keep waiting for that to happen.
And shocked that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
They used to have the We Must Protect His House, which were great ads for a while. They were really great. And they did use Maryland players, particularly football players, for that for a long time.
Eric Abogbu, or what was it?
Abogbu, yeah.
Yeah. Do that with, recruits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they took a swing at Nike in that market, and they kind of failed miserably. So they've kind of backed out of some of that stuff. But, Plank's Plank's obviously personally been very helpful. Under Armour has not been a positive for the basketball program. It just hasn't. But it's not going away. So whatever. It's not even worth crying over, frankly.
Nope. Just signed a new deal this year for
Yeah.
I don't remember how many years.
Jerseys are $130 actually.
Wow.
So if they sell 7,700 jerseys, they make the money back. Of course, they don't get all the money from it, but whatever the percent cut they need, right? So it's a business decision you could probably justify. They're going to sell more tickets with better players too. They're going to sell more concessions. They're going to get more hits on their websites and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. More fans, more donations, right? So you figure all that money out, 1 million, 2 million a player for huge stars, it probably comes back.
Yeah.
Well,
only works.
I
for
don't
few
know.
stars, though. Nobody's buying.
Yeah, I mean,
a
right.
Gapare jersey.
Right.
No,
I mean, that's the
he's
problem.
also not $1 million player.
But I mean, say Jacoby Gillespie. How many Jacoby Gillespie jerseys do you think are sold out there?
No idea.
It's not a lot, I would bet.
No idea.
I mean, I don't think there's a great ROI in terms of the if you're talking about NIL deals, right? Like actual deals, like we value your name, image, and likeness so that we can sell a product. Yeah. There's no ROI here for anybody but the Cooper Flags of the world. There just isn't.
Or Queen. So, if you got a Queen type, you could sell a bunch. But yeah, not.
Sure. I mean, but what I'm saying is, like, unless you have tippy top stars, you're not actually. This is not a good business deal for you. So, like, we need to understand when people say NIL, we are just talking about paying kids to play basketball at your school. There's not a lot of value coming back. There just isn't. So that just needs to be understood. Now, there shouldn't be any reason why you couldn't get some corporate entities who value, your basketball team and what that basketball team as a whole can bring to that company or to its owners or shareholders or board members or what have you. But like, let's not pretend that Under Armour signing Rodney Rice to a $2 million NIL deal is going to be worth $2 million in, advertising or marketing expenses to Under Armour. It's just not. It's
Maybe not. They will get some back though.
They'll get some back, but you're not getting all of it back.
Every time people go through the Maryland store and they sell stuff every single game. The people are buying the merchandise every single time. And the better your team is, the more people come up, the more people are buying, right? So I don't know what the numbers are. None of us are going to know what the exact numbers are behind the scenes, but there is some return for that.
There's some, man, but you can't convince me that's $2 million worth to do a deal like that for one player who's not like a superstar. I mean, yeah, everybody goes to the store, but they're not necessarily buying Rodney Rice gear. They're buying Under Armour gear. They're buying Terps gear. It's whatever. It's stuff they would do anyway because they're Terps fans.
But that's rolled up in it too. They would buy less if they didn't have the good players and weren't winning.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be less people there. So like, maybe that's how you can justify it. But like, there's no ROI calculation here. This is all purely paying kids to play at your school. That's it. That's all that's happening.
Sort of. I mean, advertising works. You make that if you're doing it right.
See the people falling asleep right now.
It's
fair enough. Hey,
it's fine. I said I need to say. I do need to address this one thing, Mr. J. I'm sorry. I honestly don't have it in me right now. I'm exhausted. I've had the flu for a couple days. Like, I was really kind of bothered by this hire earlier. I'm a little less bothered by it. Maybe it's the medication. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's reading up on Buzz and what he's done the last couple of years. I think at this point, you just need to kind of sit back and see what happens. I mean, I've been upset about too many things in the past couple of weeks. I've got nothing left for you. I'm sorry. I don't know. Buzz Williams is the coach now.
Paul's on some good narcotics. Yeah, I threw to you at the beginning of the show. I thought we were going to get some classic Paul there. It did materialize.
I just don't have it, man. I don't have it in me anymore. I mean, and it's not
like
a
few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they hired like some dude off the street. I mean, the dude can coach. I hope it works out. I hope he gets locked in a room with the analytics guy and figures out the 3-pointers are awesome. I think that would be really helpful to him and to my psyche, but I don't know. He's the coach now, so I hope he's good.
And apparently he looks like Gene Hackman, so that's a big plus.
Yeah. Yeah,
Jeff,
right.
thoughts on Lindsay? I think you already kind of covered this, but the courtside view is
I need to
asking
dig
for that.
on that one, find out what the relationship was like. Be a good one, though. They already offered him. Willard, I think that was the only offer that Willard's staff made in the portal was Bryce Lindsay.
So apparently there's some shenanigans possibly going out there on the interweb. So if there's news to break, pass it on.
I'm telling you, over the next week, there's going to be a shift in the view of Buzz Williams because he's going to start signing people, coaches and players that people like, and be like, okay, maybe we got something here. That's going to happen. I'm telling you.
It happens every time. It's going to happen this time too.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll see how it plays out.
I mean, like I said, that's where I'm at. I mean, I got nothing left for you, man. I feel like we just need to see. It is what it is.
There was a little bit of football today, Jeff. Do you want to go over any of that, particularly the QB battle between Justin Martin and Malik Washington? I think that's the most exciting thing about the football team right now.
Yeah, I mean, it should come as no surprise, but they've been raving about Malik Washington. He said he looks great. The ball comes off his hand just looks different. All along I've said I don't think he'll start next year because all the scouts and other people who really would know have told me that he probably needs a year of polish. But now they're saying he looks great. He's right up there with Martin. They'll probably compete going into the fall, into camp. Offensive line, still a work in progress, still a concern. They really like some of those young guys, but we know what happens with young offensive linemen. Defensively, Dante Joyner, the corner from Arkansas State, apparently has looked really good there. So I think, between him and the kid from Wake Forest, Jamari Glasker, I think they've really upgraded at cornerback. They love their outside linebackers, which comes as no surprise. Sidney Stewart, true freshman, whose video was really impressive for a 3-star guy. I'm told he looks great. So I think linebacker is probably the best position on the team. Otherwise, no real major news. They love a lot of these young guys, but young guys, typically most of them don't help you right away, especially in the Big Ten. There's a lot of confidence, you have to wait and see, but they feel like people don't realize how much talent they have this year.
I hope so. Really, if you offer me 6 right now, I'm taking it.
Me too.
Get to the bowl game because they had a rough roster last year and lost players.
They feel like they're much better than 6.
Really?
But
hey, cool. Cool.
Everybody.
Good.
I mean, nobody feels terrible. Nobody says they're going to win 2 games next year.
Put it out into the universe and make it happen. Let's go.
Again, if you talk about, I've never hoped to be more wrong in my life than with Maryland football right now because I really. Yeah, they find a way to get 6 or 7 next year, we're going to be all right. But
yeah,
boy,
I got the last 2 texts I got. I just looked down at my phone. What do you think of Buzz Williams' hire at Maryland? And from a different person, do you think Buzz will bring any Texas A&M basketball players with him? And I feel like texting, turn on my show, MFers, turn on my show.
Tell me about it. I got several friends who will ask me these questions that I literally just wrote about, that I've been writing about every day. And I say, go to the site and check it out. Like, I've given you a free subscription. Go look. And then they'll just keep texting me the questions and stuff I wrote about. It's maddening.
Yeah. We got a question from KD directed at me, but we'll all answer it. Will Buzz have Maryland in the tournament next season? What are your thoughts, Lawrence, since you directed me? I'll start and I'll say, yes. They're going to get enough players, and he has a history of making at least entry-level tournament teams. I'm going to say yes, he's going to get enough players to do it. What do you guys say? Paul says no.
I'll say yes. I think he'll get good, but I don't know. They don't have a roster currently. Like I'm starting at the 4 right now.
They don't have anybody on the team. Ask me at the end of April. I don't.
They got money. And they got a coach who
everybody's got money.
But so does Maryland, and they're going to fight, and they're going to get some players.
And they're a week behind. So Best of luck, guys.
Wait, what does he mean when Seftigal says, Larry, you're not advertising enough? What? For buzz? I'm not.
For the show, maybe, since somebody was calling.
For the show, because my text to the people. Okay. All right, guys. Anything else with football before we go on?
Oh, tight end, Dorian Fleming, Georgia State. They love him. I asked if he was a little bit like Chico Okonkwo, and the answer was he's better. So they really like him.
Hey, man. Hey, well, it's the annual practice player, but like 4 of them. So
his tape is really good. I like him a lot. I think that could be really interesting. I'm going to practice next week, so definitely bring some thoughts back with me. Pretty excited about that.
If you put video footage,
Loxley's first 6 years up against, oh my God, Frank Beamer's first 6 years, they're nearly identical. Now, starting in year 7, he needs a 20-year run where they're nationally elite and are winning about 10 games a year starting this year.
Cool. Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Michael Wheatley, Football Go 9-3. Mark that down, Lawrence. You are crazy, my friend. I hope you're right. All right. Here we go. I've got an over-under for you guys to end the show. I'll give you a statement about Maryland with number touch-up to say over-under and expound upon it. Jeff, we will start with you. Portal players Maryland signs within the next week. Over-under.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Jeff doesn't understand like rules or okay. Like he's running on fumes here.
My number was higher than that, so you would have said under. But
what was your number? 2.5?
5.
In the next week?
Because I thought in a week he's good because they got to go quick, right?
You're right. They do have to go quick. It could be more than 2, but less than 5.
Okay. All right. Paul, years. Buzz Williams is the coach at Maryland. Over under 4.5.
I'll say over only because he usually stays by 5 or 6. So over, but just barely. Okay. And if he ends up being like 10, hopefully that means he's done great here, and there's good reason to keep him around.
Or it's a repeat of the Turgeon.
Or that. And you know what? If I'm still on this radio program when that's happening, it's going to be a very different vibe.
Yeah. Jeff wins for the basketball team next season. Over under 15.5. Effectively, are they over 500? You kind of already alluded that you said tournament team, so they're going to be over that, I guess.
Yeah, over. I mean, Maryland almost never is below that mark, regardless of the situation. So I'll say over.
Pretty bleak situation at the moment, though, right? Paul said.
No, I mean the last 2 P4 coach steals just decided to drop a under 500 season on us in the last 4 years, so it would be tradition.
Paul, even Turgeon's first year, though, that team was not very talented, and they won. I have no idea. It was more than that.
They were like 19-12 or something. They were decent. Yeah.
Alex Len years.
This is Stoglin, wasn't it?
Paul, both. Appearances in the Sweet 16 or beyond with Buzz Williams. Over under 0.5.
I mean, he didn't go to one at A&M.
Right.
I'm quite certain.
Right. He did not. Yeah,
he did at Marquette, and I think he did at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. So. That's right.
I don't know. I'll be somewhat optimistic and say yes, over. But
he'll get at least one.
Yeah, you'll probably get one. I don't know. We don't know anything, man. We're just kind of swinging at air here.
All right, Jeff. NIL next year. Over under this year's NIL number. Whatever it was.
Revenue share or just NIL? Because next year it's really
NIL.
Under. Next year you're really relying on the revenue share to pay guys.
Okay, but you'll still have some NIL.
Well, it's mostly going to have to be outside deals that you help facilitate and things like that. So it mostly comes down to revenue share, after this year.
And then the outside deals are kind of why the issue about the GM becomes a situation for basketball. That's why Willard, I think rightly, was like, you need a basketball GM to be able to organize all these things. Like
Jimmy Patos, the GM yesterday, job was made for him.
It was, and also having the Under Armour connections wouldn't hurt with maybe goosing them corporately for a little more money than they are doing.
Paul, percentage of disgruntled fans who are claiming they're leaving the program, but will jump right back if they start winning, over under 99%.
Over. I mean, people would get mad and they post things and then they go back to doing the things they always did before. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who are super zealots about one thing or the other and upset about this, that, and the other thing. And, they'll sit out a year or they'll find a different hobby, and that's fine. But most people just go online and need to vent, man. They just, it's therapy for a lot of people. That's why I don't get super bothered by people making, outlandish statements and threads or game threads or on social media. Like, it's just what people need to do to blow off things that actually matter. This does not matter, really. I mean, in our lives, it is a nice diversion. It's a thing that's nice when it's good when it's good. Even when it's bad, it gives you something to focus on that's not going to affect food on your table or, your relationship with your family. So have at it, people. I'm not here to judge.
Yep,
people who are hardcore fans, they never quit the team cold turkey. It's very hard to just overnight go from being a passionate fan. It always happens long term. They become more and more apathetic, like we saw under Turgeon, right? You saw a lot of people it's never rarely an overnight thing.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's mad today, like Larry said, he's gonna have a great press. Yeah, he's gonna have a great presser tomorrow. He's gonna hire some people. He's gonna get some kids out of the portal, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, well, maybe this could work."
Inevitable.
We'll see.
All right, last one for Jeff. Articles you've written in the past week, over under 25.
Oh, way over. We've had a few days where we had 8 articles in a day. So
but just you, though. I mean,
yeah, definitely over that. Yeah, it's been we've been putting out probably maybe more than ever the past week.
Yeah. Okay. Paul, last one. Inside connections you've texted in the past week, over under 10.
It probably over. The responses were under 10, but definitely texted a lot of people. And most people were pretty in the dark on this one. So it was fairly well run in terms of a process and secrecy. I mean, they had all of us guessing up till this morning. So, but once it was out, and that was kind of it. So, I mean, like Jeff said, I think this morning it took an hour for it to go from nobody's talking to Buzz. That was just him trying to get out of his contract to oh crap, he's coming. This is real. So it was an interesting. It'll be an interesting one to look back on, just everything that's happened in the past 3 weeks. I feel like Jeff could probably write his book about this, just from the whole Nova job opening up all the way through today. It's probably been the busiest and the craziest thing I've ever witnessed at Maryland, and I've been around for a long time. So I don't know what to say about it, man, other than I'm so goddamn exhausted, and I'm not even like Jeff. This isn't even my job. We just do this for fun.
I took a nap today before the show for an hour.
That's good.
Just trying to run.
It's not crazier than when the sanctions hit. I'll say that. That was.
Well, I was 9, so I wasn't really keyed in on that.
It was bad. That felt like the program was overdone permanently.
Little 12-year-old Lawrence was like, "What the H? What the H is going on here?
What the F and H?
What the H?" We got 2 good comments. Colin McAleer, "I've tried to quit the team cold turkey," and then Gary Moore, "Yeah, I quit watching Maryland football many times." Exactly.
Yeah, It's like smoking or something, Yeah.
I'm never gonna drink again.
Yeah.
And next weekend, there you are.
Addiction.
Yeah. All right. Hey. All right. Well, who knows when we're coming back? I don't think we're gonna do our regular Wednesday night.
Yeah, we need to take. I'm sorry, we have to take tomorrow off. I need you guys to just understand that. And
unless Unless
I don't know what could happen tomorrow that would.
I'm
be
hiring
great.
Greivis Vasquez, Steve Blake, and I've got 3 transfer portal kids committing. Then we do a
tomorrow's
show.
a press conference. I'll be out there tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see what the buzz is.
What the buzz? Hey, that's
here.
my headline. Oh,
Matthew, I want you to take the little bar. I want you to scroll over on YouTube, and the bar with the little dot on it should be all the way on the right. And I want you to grab it and pull it all the way over to the left. And then for the next hour, we'll tell you how we feel about the hiring.
Don't make fun of him. He just joined, Matthew. But
I'm sorry. I'm tired and I'm cranky.
We spent the last hour and 15 minutes talking about it. So just rewatch the show and you'll hear about it.
And then you can also listen in your podcast player tomorrow how we feel about it, or tonight even, if one wasn't enough. And if you don't want to look at our faces, which again I completely understand, I don't want to look at our faces either. So whatever suits your I don't even have a metaphor right. I'll say whatever suits your boat, but that's not right. Whatever rocks your boat, that's not right either. I'm so tired. I'm going to go to bed. So
before that, I'm gonna my headline. I want to ask everybody if they know where it's from. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. Anybody?
I got nothing.
What's happening? The TV show?
No. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? It's music lyrics.
Oh, is it like a musical or something?
It is.
I knew it.
Inside musicaltheater.com.
What did you say?
Mamma Mia?
No.
Cats?
No.
Phantom of the Opera?
Same composers, Cats and Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, well then it's
that's
Fiddler on the Roof.
No. Oh, good.
Hamilton?
No. All right. I want to see if Jeffrey Jackal said hair in the chat. No, it's not hair either.
Jesus Christ Superstar. Oh,
Tim McKenna's the winner. Jesus Christ Superstar. Yes, Andrew Lloyd Webber's and Tim Rice was the lyricist. Andrew Lloyd Webber's the composer.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yes, I was all over that. Just
there you go.
Just been a day.
Oh, maybe Bob Hoffman said it before Tim McKenna. He beat him just under the gun. There we go. 2 of you guys. All right. Hey,
Bob.
Everybody watching, please do us a favor and subscribe. A lot of you guys have been subscribing lately, and that's amazing. And clicking like and all those things. It's really helping us out. Our numbers are going crazy, which is really cool. The more people we have, the better for us and for you guys when we have the big community. And it's a lot more fun when there's interaction and everything. Thank you, Todd Labor. Todd Labor says, great show. Thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate it, guys. It's I know we sound cranky because we've been doing this for a while. We're all sleep deprived, but this has been a lot of fun these last couple of weeks. So hopefully there's some more good news to go with it as opposed to just the Willard related things.
Yeah, I propose we just stop talking about him. Bye-bye.
Yeah, he's pretty much dead to me at this point, so it's whatever.
Get it out, flush it out of your system. You harbor that stuff, it's just gonna eat you alive, and it doesn't affect him at all.
They're gonna fire his ass in a couple years anyway. He's not gonna win enough there.
Maybe. So we're probably not going to be back.
You say forget about him, but when that Rodney Rice or Jacoby Gillespie news hits,
then that would be a moment to think about him again.
Okay,
just temporary, a little bit.
Yeah,
un poco, as they say in Espanol.
I got to go bug people.
All right, see you, Jeff. We're probably not going to be back tomorrow, our normal Wednesday nights, because we've been doing so many shows. But at some point, some stuff is going to happen that will facilitate a show. That's partially the reason why you subscribe, and you'll know when those are going to happen. We'll let you know on the message board and all that stuff too. We will see you guys some point soon. This is IMS Radio.